Hey, how's it going? I just wanted to make a quick video that goes over how to use my free practice guide. So if you don't yet have the free practice guide, you can find it on my website, www.davekirbymusic.com. Any page that you go to on my website, a pop-up will show up, and if you enter your email, you're going to get sent my free practice guide. If you've already closed the pop-up or if you can't find the pop-up, you can also find a sign-up section on my homepage, www.davekirbymusic.com. Enter your email, and I'll send you the free practice guide. If confusing or hard to follow, you can find it on my String Theory online guitar courses Facebook page. You can also find it in the bio section of my Instagram, which is at Dave Kirby Music. So there's lots of places to find it. Finally, if you can't find it, please just get in touch with me. There's a contact us page on my website. Shoot me an email. I'm happy to send it to you. I wanted to talk about the table on page 4 of my practice guide. So I've been making a lot of claims in my advertising that this practice guide is full of exercises that you can not only learn, but you can actually expand upon on your own. And that's not a lie. That's not like a thing that I'm saying to lure you in. That's 100% true. And I made this video today because I want to make sure that you're aware of how you can expand these exercises and use them. So what I'm going to do today in this video is I'm going to be using only the A major scale. So the A major scale, the way that I'm playing it today, looks like this. So that's the scale that I'm going to be using, and I'm going to be going through the table on page 4 of the free practice guide. So if you have it with you, open it up now, refer to page 4. It's going to be super helpful going forward. So on the left-hand side, I've got a column called groups, and there's groups of 3, groups of 5, groups of 4, and groups of 7. So we're going to start with groups of 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play my groups of 3 ascending. So ascending means that I'm going, you'll notice ascending is the middle column. Ascending means that I'm going from this part of the scale, the lower part of the scale, to the higher part of the scale, here. And underneath that column, marked ascending, you're going to see a whole bunch of different arrows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the A major scale in groups of 3, but I'm going to play up, up. So what that up, up refers to is that means that each of my individual groups of 3 is also going up or ascending. So once again, A major scale, groups of 3, ascending, up, up, sounds like this. Now, to the right of the ascending column, there's a column marked descending, and as you probably figured out by now, descending means that we're going to start here, and we're going to go all the way down to here. And the first line under descending is also marked with 2 upwards facing arrows, up, up. So what that means is, although we're descending the scale, so we're going from here all the way down to here, although we're descending the scale, our individual groups of 3 are going to be going up, up, or ascending. So that's going to sound like this. If I wanted to practice my groups of 3 again, sticking with the groups of 3, but this time ascending, and I'm going to go up, down, which is the second row in that middle ascending column there is kind of marked up, down. What that means is that my first group of 3 is going to ascend, but my second group of 3 is going to descend. So that sounds like this. Now, the next column, the descending column, in the same row, I have the same thing written, up, down. So what that means is my first group of 3 is going to ascend, and my second one is going to descend. So that's going to sound like this. Then the next row in the ascending column, sticking with our groups of 3, is marked down up, which is the exact opposite of what we just did. So our first group of 3 ascending is going to go down, and our second group is going to go up. So that's going to sound like this. Now the next column over in the descending column, we have the same thing written, down and up. So that means our first group is going to descend, and then our next group is going to ascend. That's going to sound like this. So the last column in our ascending, the last row in our ascending column is marked down, down. So that means we're ascending the scale, but each individual group is going to descend. So that sounds like this. Then finally, the last row in our descending column is marked down, down. So that means we're descending the scale, and each individual pattern is going downwards or descending. So it's going to sound like this. So we just went through, using an A major scale in our groups of 3, we just went through all of the options for ascending and all of the options for descending. So the next thing that I want to mention is the groups of 4, and I know that I'm skipping over the groups of 5, but I'm going to get to that in just a second. So the groups of 4 are sort of obvious how that would work if you compare it to the groups of 3. So when we used groups of 3, we played 1, 2, 3 notes of our scale, starting from our first note. So again, that was 1, 2, 3. Then we go to our second note and we play 3 notes up from that. So 1, 2, 3. Then we go to our third note and play 3 notes up from that. 1, 2, 3, right? So that's what I kind of mean when I'm saying groups of 3. Groups of 4, it's obvious to understand what I mean by that. We're just doing the same thing, but instead of 3 notes, we're doing 4 notes. So that's like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I go to my second note and play 4 notes up from that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we can subject those groups of 4 to the exact same permutations that we did with the groups of 3. So when we're ascending with groups of 4, we can do up, 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 down, down, up, down, down, and the same options for descending, right? Why it's important to practice both groups of 3 and groups of 4 is because when you start to involve the metronome, they work out kind of differently. So if you think about it, if we're practicing these groups of 3 or these groups of 4 as quarter notes, so what that means is that every time that there's a click, we're going to play a note. Then it doesn't really matter if we're playing groups of 3 or groups of 4. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to play a note every click, right? So I've got a metronome here. So let's do groups of 4 quarter notes. So that was groups of 4 ascending, and we were going up, up, and we were playing them at quarter notes. If I play them at eighth notes, the groups of 4 is going to be cool. It's going to line up. If we play it at eighth note triplets are 3 notes inside of a click. So when we play 3 notes inside of a click with groups of 4, they're not going to line up with the click perfectly, right? So it's going to sound, that's called like a polyrhythm, right? So it's like this. So this is groups of 4 ascending, up, up, at eighth note triplets. So that sounds like this. You'll notice there that the click does not line up with the first note in every group of 4. If we were to practice our groups of 4 using 16th notes, it would line up properly, because 16th notes is 4 notes played inside of every click. So we would have our first note of our group of 4 on a click and the first note of the next group of 4 on a click. When we use groups of 3, if we play groups of 3 at eighth notes, so in eighth notes there are 2 notes in every click, and we're using groups of 3, so they will not line up. Like the first note of every group of 3 will not line up on a click. If we're doing eighth note triplets, they will line up, because that's 3 notes every click. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? If we do them at 16th notes, it won't line up. Like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. That's what it's going to sound like. And my karate chops here are the click. Where the groups of 5 and 7 come from is actually super, super interesting. So groups of 5, there's a little note written on the page. For groups of 5, it says 3 up and down, and for groups of 7, it says 4 up and down. So let's start by talking about the groups of 5. So if we play a group of 3, but we play it up and down, now we have a group of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we can subject that group of 5 to all the same permutations that we can with our groups of 3 and with our groups of 4. So let's try and look at a group of 5 ascending, up, up. That's going to sound like this. Right? Now, you can do every single permutation with those groups. So we can do like a staggered one. We can do up, down. So let's do groups of 5, ascending, up, down. So our first group of 5 is going to be going upwards, and we're playing them up and down. So it's going to go up first and then back down. And then our second group of 5 is going to go down first and then back up. So that's going to sound, so again, groups of 5, ascending, up, down. Here it is. Why the groups of 5 are really cool is because groups of 5 are not going to line up with anything except for quarter notes, right? Every click. If you're playing every note on a click, then obviously the first note of our group of 5 will line up with a click. But if you're doing eighth notes, eighth note triplets, 16th notes, nothing's going to line up with a group of 5. And the same thing goes for 7. And 7 is the same sort of concept, but rather than ascending and descending a group of 5, we're doing it with a group of 4. So like this. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's do, as an example, let's see if we can do group of 7, let's go ascending, and we'll go down, down. So that's like this. Now you can try playing that as eighth notes, as eighth note triplets, as 16th notes, and they in no case will the first note of every group of 7 line up with the click. So it's fun, like, to try it. It's very, very challenging, right? And I meant what I said when I said that this free practice guide has an infinite, like, amount of permutations that you can expand upon, because not only can you use this using all of the sort of like different groups and different ascending patterns and descending patterns that are outlined in that table, but you can try this, like in this video, I've only used an A major scale, right? You can try this with any scale, right? You could do this with like a, I don't know, C Ionian sharp 5 scale or whatever, right? Like whatever scale it is that you're trying to get under your fingers, the tools in my free practice guide are there to help you out with it, right? So if you've not downloaded this free practice guide, please check it out. It's definitely, definitely worth it, and I promise it's going to change your practice routine. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.